everyone. Today is February 1st, 2020, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger. This week we're starting off a new month. It was the end of January and the beginning of a new month, which means the Kaiba Cup is also this month. But we've got a new legendary duelist in DSOD Joey. We'll talk about the event. It was kind of a combo event. They've had these in the past where you start off with Yami, the fake, kind of like a fake Yami, and then goes over to Joey for some reason. It's a weird transition, but then it does. And pretty much you have to get the character right away. And comes with a bunch of new duel skills, new cards. There is like event cards and level cards, and his cards, like always, are good. So excited to talk about that. There's a new mini box, the Ninja mini box. I don't know what it's called. Masters of Shadow. We'll talk about the URs and SRs from Masters of Shadow. Vagabond update, we'll talk about that. It's kind of one of the biggest changes in a while. Some esports, including the unlimited mode that just came across. And finally, Doug Dimmaduel with a Mecha Phantom Surprise deck. See what the surprise is all about later. As for my own week in the Duel World, I actually ended last season, which is January, in King of Games. It felt like it took an eternity for some reason, but it was just 98 wins. Obviously, the losses don't take into account, the full amount of games you played or whatever, but 98 wins, I got my King of Games. I know some times it took me over 100. I don't think it was ever 200 or anything like that, but it took me over 100 sometimes, but just 98. And, I was playing Element Saber Invoked for most of the season, and just playing the incomplete version or just not being great using the field spell. I think that's probably my biggest downfall, or playing La Puya in attack mode. There's a lot of things I do that cost me games. So I switched over to Fortune Ladies again. It's kind of the deck that I just go to. I previously had King of Games with Fortune Ladies, but then I saw a deck from Duel Links Meta, Mordstar specifically. And I was always interested in playing this version with Fortune's Future. Of course, there was a version that I was playing with the Fortune Fairy Hikari, the Uncorrupted Fortune Lady. And it's a similar deck, but this one does involve those pieces. So the deck, of course, Time Passage. The difference is there's two Fortune Lady Light. This is a card that typically, almost from the beginning, was run at 1. And I guess really that combo, like that combo with Past, the main Fortune Lady play, of course, is you banish Light with Past, you special summon Water, and you draw a lot of cards. Now that you have Fortune's Future, which allows you to return the removed from play card to the graveyard, you could draw 2 more cards. So there's like a turbo draw turn. That huge card advantage usually wins you the game. Fortune's Future also has synergy with the Vermilion Dragon Mech. It lets you recycle Fortune Lady Past if you use her for ammunition for that card, and then you get it back. So there's a lot of different cards you could use, but otherwise, 2 Sphere Krivos, that's kind of there's a version running around with Kiteroid, the one with the Fortune Fairy Hikari. I guess it's more important to save your monsters and then let them modulate their levels next turn. That makes sense why Sphere Krivo's there. 1 Fortune Lady Wind, that seems pretty standard. 3 Fortune Lady Past, 2 Fortune Lady Water, that's about the same. 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 3 Fortune Lady Calling, 1 Fortune Vision, of course, 2 Paleozoic Canadias, and 1 Bending Destiny. In terms of the extra deck, there's Vermilion Dragon Mech, Scrap Dragon, Arcanite Magician, Black Rose Dragon. These are all really good control cards. The first 3 are control cards. Black Rose Dragon helps you get out of a situation. Let's say you want to beat a Subterror deck, you just blow up their whole board. So I don't think I really use it too much, frankly, but there are situations that call for it. And then, of course, the main monster, 2 copies of Fortune Lady Every. This is the card that you'll be playing most of the time as a Fortune Lady Synchro deck. So, happy to hit King of Games again. I just wanted those 200 gems, really. And I think this was my 10th King of Games because I got the icon specifically for 10, so that makes sense. I haven't counted I know Pro Benchwarmer counted. He did like a whole year of King of Games, and he knew which ones he had. And Nasser also knew he had like whatever many. So I could start from the beginning, but I'm gonna forget. I knew I had some Red Eyes and Ancient Gears, Red Eye Zombies specifically, and Ancient Gears decks, Gearjas, different decks I've played in the past. Move on to Esports, Duel Links Meta Weekly 109. They switched up the format to the two deck format, two decks, two legendary duelists, two skills. It's kind of what the Taiwan series was doing. And maybe this will bring about some new decks in the meta, but a lot of these are the same. We're settling down into a meta now, but there's some new cards coming in. Ninjas may take a hold. First place, Biscaya BL, Sealed Tombs, Dark Magician deck. This deck, a lot of anti-banish techs. Kaiku kind of became a staple, kind of what made Dark Magician get its own against those banish decks. This deck also runs two Artifact Lancias, so that's a hand trick that counters a banish effect. Of course, the deck runs Sealed Tombs. Otherwise, the core is pretty much a Dark Magician deck. You have Magician of Dark Illusion, 3 Rods, 3 Dark Magicians, 1 Cosmic, 3 Dark Magic Circle, 1 Illusion Magic, 3 Magician Navigation, 2 Treacherous Trap Hole. The other deck he used was Sorcery, Conduit, Element Saber, Invoked. We're seeing a turn in Element Saber Invoked decks, and that they're becoming bigger decks. Somewhere between 20 and 25 cards. So this one's 23 cards. You've got your staple monsters here, no Lapuya, but a lot of the back row cards that are extra are, meta cards. You have 2 Divine Raft, 3 Floodgates, 2 Wall of D. So this makes it 23 cards. The deck is evolving. It's interesting. Second place, Drizzy Drake. Sorcery, Conduit, Element Saber, Invoked. This one is a 21 card deck. More expensive version. You've got 3 Fiendish Chain. If you're able to get that card from the selection box, definitely put it in. It's definitely better than the other cards that were mentioned. I guess it's a better card over Floodgate and Chalice for sure. Treacherous Trap Hole, of course, is being used in that deck. Of course, when you do that, you have to cut out the Magellanicas from the deck. So that's a bit of a trade-off when you're doing Treacherous Trap Hole in a Element Saber deck. Also, Sealed Tombs, Dark Magician. Kaiku is still here as a banish card, but this deck runs Knight's End Sorcerer. This is a ranked duels ticket card you should definitely get. When it's special summoned, you can target 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard, banish them. So the goal is to get this out with Magician Navigation. You get a Dark Magician out and then a smaller monster. This is the smaller monster. And this card is flexible. It's a tuner, so it's a level 2 tuner, allowing this deck to have a menu of synchro options to play. So definitely, I would choose this over the Artifact Lancia, frankly. Just having the synchro plays is really handy. Top 4, Zanzis. 2 25-card decks here. Sorcery, Conduit, Element Saber, Invoked. As mentioned, Element Sabers, they just tutor cards so well with the field spell. And then Alistair, of course, is auto-tutor, so you can run these decks. 3 Floodgates, 3 Paleozoicaneas, 2 Wall of D's. Just your general good trap cards here. And here's an interesting deck, a Light and Dark Silent Magician Girl Invoked deck. So, just to read out the cards, 3 Alistairs, 1 Invocation, 3 Silent Magicians, 1 level 8 Silent Magician, 2 Chocolate Magician Girl, 3 Berry Magician Girl, 1 Apple Magician Girl, 3 Cosmics, 2 Dimensional Prisons, 3 Floodgates, 3 Paleozoicaneas. And the extra deck is just the Invoked monsters. So Light and Dark, you get to switch your Light and Dark, so your level 4s are same levels. That's the Alistair and the Silent Magician. Both very strong plays, depending on when you need them. And then the Magician Girls are all there for their attributes. Water, Earth, and Fire. That's what your Invoked cards are. We've seen a lot of Magician Girls in lower tiers of ladder as Quintet Magician. They just blow you away. But this is just for Invocation. And of course, you put in those really good trap cards. And top 4, Jason, Sealed Tombs, Dark Magician. This is a same version with Kaiku, Knight and Sorcerer, but also has Eye of Timaeus. So that lets you get into your fusion plays. It's pretty cool that Dark Magician there's many tiers of it. I guess there's many ways to play Dark Magician. They're all pretty good too. So Eye-of-Tiamat is still a factor. And Sorcery, Conduit, Element, Saber, Invoked, 25 cards. In the back row, we've got 3 Fiendish Chains, 3 Floodgates, 3 Wall of D's. It's a control deck at its finest with Fiendish Chain. Really solid deck. So, one big change is Duel Links has created a dual room feature with unlimited lists. So this is what we call it in Hearthstone Wild mode. You could play with any of your cards. Here in Yu-Gi-Oh! It means no limit lists. So let the Wild West begin. We could start looking at these tournaments every week because it's a completely different mode. You see the interaction. You see decks that will never exist, frankly. Cards that are suppressed by nerfs in the window of these cards being released. You know, let's say Ninjas came out, for example, and then there's some interaction with some card that got put on the ban list. We'll never see that. We'll never know. And this is our chance to know about that. So, Duel Links meta, what is this called? Point Battle 30. There's 2 tournaments. First place in Tournament 1, Fake Zix, Tie That Binds, Kawaki Meru, Invoked. So, this is a combination that never existed since, like, almost all these cards are semi-limited. And, just to talk about it, you have 2 Alistairs, 1 Invocation, 2 Kawaki Meru Sandman, 3 Earnright, 2 Maximus, that was a limited card to 1. 1 Ice, of course. 3 Diamond Cores, 3 Iron Cores, 2 Hey Trunades, 1 Treacherous. So there's just like a lot of, Treacherous and Hey Trunade and Iron Core are all semi-limited currently. Throw in Invoked Magellanica, you've got a lot of semi-limited cards here. Of course, this combo won't exist either. Invoked Coxidus and Maximus are both on the limited list, but this deck is pretty OP. Shows that, Kawaki Meru are rightfully nerfed right now. They're rightfully on the limited list. Insane one-turn kill potential. Second place, Mad Max Compensation, Dark Lords. Again, Dark Lords are kind of put in the back burner now. They're still a very good deck, but, their full potential is behind this limit list. A lot of cards. Most of it's the same. Like, the monsters are pretty much the same. There's fewer monsters in the deck. There's more room for the spell cards. So there's 3 copies of Dark Lord Contact, 2 Treacherous Trap Hole, 2 Sanctified Dark Lord, 1 Econ. Kind of filling in the slots that were taken away. They've done it with those monsters, I guess, like Amdusk and Ukobak and things like that. But in its right form, this, you try to maximize Dark Lord Contact, Sanctified Dark Lord in your opening hand, Treacherous as well. And third place, Mr. Softy, Sealed Tombs Neos Kawaki Meru. This is, of course, Neos was put on the list as well. Neos Fusion is a semi-limited card, so that does not work with the Iron Core. This was definitely a deck that existed back then. These 2 cards were running rampant. It was a tier 1 deck. Look at Tournament 2, Sham, first place Compensation, Dark Lords. Again, got a little bit of a toolbox going on here. No Amdusks. And, of course, you maximize Dark Lord Contact, Sanctified Dark Lord, Treacherous. Second place, Francisco Cristrons. Not abusing the semi-limit list too much. This guy, with the Crystron monsters, they're all unlimited. There are 3 copies of World Legacy Clash and 1 Treacherous Trap Hole. Otherwise, pretty... this guy always gets second place with Crystrons, it seems. And third place, Junior Crazy, Sorcery Conduit, Element Saber, Invoked. This is the classic deck where you run 3 copies of Concentrated Current. You wait for your Magellanica. I mean, it's good for everyone. It's good for Coxidus. It's good for Purgatrio. It's good for Magellanica. They all have pretty good defense. It's good for Alistair. He has 1800 defense. So, there's sometimes there's still a way to fit in a Concentrated Current and a Magellanica in the same deck now, but 3 copies is definitely maxing out the consistency of the card. So back to regular ranked or KC Cup meta tier list update from Duel Links meta. Dark Magician has moved up to tier 1. I think that addition with Kaiku, any of the other banished cards, Night End Sorcerer might make it in, Artifact Lancia, but mostly Kaiku has put the deck into tier 1. The deck could really do anything. If you think about it, they ramp 2 guys onto the board. The Magician of Dark Illusion protects and resurrects. The Dark Magic Circle tutors and banishes stuff. Magician's Navigation counters spells and traps. Their guys are pretty strong. They can play Eye of Timaeus instead of Dark Cavalry. They have a tuner option now. They prevent banish in the graveyard. They do everything. And Shiranui is still tier 1, as we can see. The fight of tier 1. Eventually, the Dark Magician anti-banish techs could go into other decks too. Like Kaiku could go into any deck he wants. Tier 2, we have Black Wings, Dark Lords, and Element Sabers. Not much change here. We have seen Element Sabers kind of change as a deck. They are going into full control mode, it seems, with all those trap cards. And Tier 3, Crystrons are back with Ritual Beast. This seems about right. These two are both sneaky decks that could just beat you with all their moves in one turn. But they don't have the outright power that the other decks have. Move on to a card review section. Masters of Shadow, the mini box. This brings back ninjas, as you can see from the card work. The ninja guy, Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo. They were pretty strong. They were a tier 1 deck, I think. Around the first time there was a meta in Duel Links, they were one of the best cards. Ramp into a really strong monster, and they get a lot of support here. Got a new archetype, the Melodious archetype. Got some support for Red Eyes as well. But today we're just going to talk about the URs and SRs from this box. And of course, in a mini box, they're the same because there's only one copy of each in a box. Let's talk about the cards. First card, Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, Dark Level 4 Warrior, 1800-1000. When this is normal summoned, you can add a ninjutsu art card from your deck to your hand. When this is flip summoned or special summoned, add a ninja monster from your deck to your hand, except for this one. So, just from looking at it, these cards are typically the most expensive cards in an archetype, the ones that could do a lot of things, facilitators of a deck. And this one, you could tutor out any ninjutsu art. It's really situational, whatever you want to do. This card, like let's say you already have the ninjutsu arts in your hand and you don't need any more, you need a monster, you would try to flip summon instead, or do the special summon. But if you do need that ninjutsu art, here it is. And there's some really good ones. A really good one we'll talk about later, but there are always some pretty good ones we've had. The ninjutsu art of transformation, shadow sealing, there's a bunch of different ones. So being able to get any one out is very good. And the other ability is to tutor out a ninja monster. If you don't have any, that's also really good as well. 1800 attacker as well. So this is a card you probably need 3 of if you want to play ninjas in a tiered format. I think they might get tiered. I don't know, but this is a card you definitely want 3 of in that event. So let's see. Schubert, the Melodious Maestra, level 6 Light Fairy. Requires 2 Melodious monsters to fuse, 2400-2000. During either player's turn, you can target up to 3 cards in any graveyard, banish them. If you do, this card gains 200 attack for each. This effect can only be used once when this card is face up on the field. So, on its own, it doesn't look too good. Now, you're fusing 2 cards for a card of 2400. It could go up to 3000. But the banish ability is really good. There was a card, Night End Sorcerer, we just talked about. That card gets special summoned. You can banish 2. This banishes 3. And if you look at the other cards that the Melodious monsters have, they can get this out in one turn pretty easily. They have a card that can get stuff out straight from the deck. And then you can normal summon, and then you have built-in fusion, and you have a card with 3000 that has banished 3 cards from the graveyard. Of course, a lot of counters against this type of ability. Since this ability is like a trigger ability. It's not a trigger ability. It's like It's optional ability. You get this card fused. It's 2400, and then you activate the ability. They could use Fiendish Chain on you there. They could use Paleozoic Canadia. There's different things that will. Well, Paleozoic Canadia won't counter that banish, but let's say a Divine Wrath or a Ultimate Providence, those will banish. Those will prevent the banish and destroy this card. So there's that working against it. Any counter ability is going to work against this card. But the pros is that it fuses very easily, and it could be 3000 attack, and it could banish if they're unprepared. So you could catch your opponent off guard, banish a bunch of cards, have a 3000 attacker. That's really good. Last UR is Gearfried, the Red Eyes Iron Knight. Dark, level 4, warrior, 1800, 1600. Once per turn, if either player equips an equip card to this, destroy those equip cards. If you do, then you can destroy one spell or trap your opponent controls. Once per turn, you can send one equip card that you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard. Target one level 7 or lower Red Eyes in your graveyard, special summon it. This is immediate support for Red Eyes Slash. Red Eyes Slash, they need warriors to get equipped to, so this could be a warrior, sure. And then when Red Eyes Slash attacks, they can equip warriors onto other monsters. So you can equip a guy to this Gearfried, and then it gets destroyed, and that clears back row. It's a slow control ability, but it works. And then when this card is equipped, you can also use that equipment to special summon a Red Eyes monster from the graveyard. So this definitely fits in to Red Eyes Slash. I don't know if it's enough to make it work. Obviously, we've got a lot of stronger mechanics nowadays. Red Eyes Slash does prevent things from getting targeted and does negate and destroy those things. So the constant shuffling of monsters as equip spells, and Gearfried adds a control and resurrection component to it. So it's definitely a card for Red Eyes Slash. I don't think it will make it a tier deck, but it will make it better. That's what I could say about Gearfried. Move on to the SRs of the box. First one is Soprano. Soprano, the Melodious Songstress. Level 4, Light Fairy, 1414. When this card is special summoned, you can target one Melodious monster in your graveyard except for this one added to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can fusion summon Melodious Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion materials, including this card. So, an immediate comparison to this card is Gravekeeper Supernaturalist. They're both built-in polymerization. They have built-in fusion. So what's great about this card is you can special summon it, and then you could tutor something from the graveyard. So there's a card. Let's talk about this card. First Movement Solo spell card. If you control no monsters, special summon one level 4 or lower Melodious monster from your hand or deck. You can only activate one First Movement Solo per turn. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this card except for Melodious monsters. So your opponent, you have no monsters on the board. You play First Movement Solo. You special summon Soprano from the deck, and then you could normal summon a card. Obviously, it's better if you have something in the graveyard, so then you could play it, but this works either way. You can normal summon something then, and then use this card's Soprano's built-in fusion, and then you can make Shuberta, and Shuberta does the banish plus 600 attack. So that's the main combo of the Songstress. Next card is called Mystic Hodler. Level 5 Dark Spellcaster, 1500, 2400. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can discard one card and apply the effect depending on what card it was. If you discard a monster, add a trap from your graveyard to your hand. If you discard a spell, add a monster from your graveyard to your hand. If you discard a trap, add a spell from your graveyard to your hand. You can use this effect once per turn. So, interesting card. I think this could fit in some kind of like random spellcaster thing. Quintet Magician, Unga Bunga spellcasters possibly fit. They just throw in various magician girls and spellcasters together. This card has really bad stats though. Level 5, 1500, 2400. It's meant to be special summoned. So, The ability, the stats are bad. You don't want to tribute summon for a 1500. Um, you want to special summon it. I think the Magician Girls have a way of doing it, or even like Magician's Navigation with Dark Magician, but that one doesn't really make much sense. Um, Maybe it does. I don't know. You could recycle Magician's Navigation or Dark Magic Circle. They do run core spells and traps. So this Mystic Huddler is something to be debated. The stats are horrible, but you could just get a Magician's Circle from your graveyard. You could get a Magician's Navigation from your graveyard, and you're golden. I think maybe. It's a conditional ability, of course. Depends what's in your hand. And let's say it doesn't match what you want, you're kind of screwed. But you need to build your deck the right way with a good balance of spells and traps and monsters. This card could be sneaky useful, but of course it's a spellcaster, so you're going to need to special summon it with some ability, not tribute summon for a 1500, of course. Next card is Yellow Dragon Ninja. Level 8 Dinosaur, a Wind Dinosaur, 3000, 1500. Cannot be special summoned except the effect of a ninja monster or a ninjutsu art card. Once per turn, quick effect, you can send a ninja monster and a ninjutsu art card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, target 2 spells or traps, and destroy them. Interesting card. Obviously, it works great with... I'll just talk about the card now. Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation. Trap Continuous. Activate this card by targeting a ninja monster you control and one face-up monster your opponent controls. Send them to the graveyard. Special summon a dragon, dinosaur, or sea serpent from your deck whose level is less than or equal to the combined original levels of the sent monsters. When this leaves the field, banish the monster. So, this card is similar, of course, to Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. I think that's what it's called. The one with the ninja lady on it. I forgot what that was the main card that got the black dragon out. So this, of course, changes the type. That one was like Winged Beast and Beast, I think. This one's Dragon, Dinosaur, and Sea Serpent. This Yellow Dragon Ninja is a dinosaur, so that's the main ramp for the dinosaur. The Yellow Dragon Ninja has an ability. Once per turn, you can quick effect send a ninja and ninjutsu art from your hand or face up to the graveyard, target 2 spells or traps. So right away, you can just blow your opponent out, destroying 2 spells or traps, and then you have a 3000 attacker. And better yet, this card can send cards from the hand, so you have a continuous trap card in your hand, a ninjutsu art that you can't use. So it makes use of that. And also, you could use the ninja that you use, probably like Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, to use that ability as well. So very good control ability on a monster with 3000 attack. And then, some other cards you can also do it with. Any dragon, you can, with the Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation, you target a ninja and one card your opponent controls. So right here, it's hard removal on a monster, and then you get a bigger monster. That's huge. It seems unlikely that your opponents could play some level 3 on the board. Possible with Element Sabers, they play Malehu, and then you play your ninja and they flip it face down or something. That's something that could happen, but Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation forces hard removal. It doesn't destroy their monster. It does target them, though. It targets their monster and sends it to the graveyard. So it gets around Neos, Fusion Protection, any effect, Destruction Protection. It gets around that. Send to the graveyard is a great ability, but it targets. So anything that prevents a target or is immune, like a Coxodus is immune to whatever, they're not going to get hit by this card. But this will be a hard removal on most monsters, ramping that big dinosaur or sea serpent or dragon out. Very, very good. This is pretty much a direct upgrade over Ninjutsu Art of Transformation, I think. Alright, so I talked about those 2 cards. Let's talk about Yosenju Kama 1, level 4 Beast Warrior, Wind, 1600, 500. If this card is normal summoned, you can immediately, after its effect, normal summon one Yosenju monster from your hand except for one. If you control another Yosenju monster, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. This effect can only be used once when this is face-up on the field. Once returned during the end phase, if this was normal summoned this turn, return it to the hand. I'm not going to pretend to know everything or much about Yosenjus, but I think this card could make the meta. Its main ability is to bounce a face-up card, and it could be repeated because this card goes back to the hand. These are kind of like spirit monsters, so they go back to the hand, and then you could just do it again. Yosenjus do a lot of work because of their trap card Yosenju Sword Sting, so this just adds to the bounce abilities. Bounce abilities are really good because monsters have a lot of graveyard interactions. They would like to be destroyed or they would like to be flipped up or whatever. Just bouncing them is great because you get around some things, you make them lose tempo, you make them do it another turn, you get stuff on the board. There's a lot you could do. And with the other Yosenju cards, Kama 1 was the one that was kind of missing, so they could be like a tier 3 deck. I think that's where I see Yosenjus. They have that ability with, like, they're not going to overwhelm you with power, but then their combos with bouncing things, they could be sneaky good. I think they could be. Next card is Worm Zex, level 4 light reptile, 1800 1000. When this is normal summoned, you can send a reptile worm from your deck to the graveyard. If you control a face-up Worm Jagen, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. So let's talk about the R card Worm Jagen because they're a partnership. Level 4 light reptile, 1018, reverse stats. If the only monster you control is Worm Zex, you can special summon this card from the graveyard and face down defense. If you do, remove it from play when it is removed from the field. When this is flipped face up, select one face-up monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So, yeah, the play is you play Zex in normal summon, you send Jagen to the graveyard. Jagen gets special summoned in face-down defense from that ability, and then you can flip it up and bounce your opponent's card. I think there's like a not a meme, it's like a funny wordplay, XY. It's kind of like a XZs. Like they're kind of getting, obviously Worm Zero is a fusion card, so it doesn't work, but it's like they're ramping up into XZs with XY, and then they're both level 4 light reptiles. They could do an XZ summon there, so these two cards could be a package on their own. It's pretty cool whenever XZs comes. So that's the only consideration I would consider it for. Believe me, I've played Worms. They're horrible, so no. Just wait for XZs and these two could be working together. Power Tool Mecha Dragon, level 7 Machine Synchro Dark. Generic requirements, 2300, 2500. During your turn, when an equipped spell is equipped to this card, you can draw a card. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, during either player's turn, target one appropriate face-up equipped card on the field. Equip that card to this target. That target to this card. So, on its own, you don't really want this as a generic synchro. Level 7, 23, 25. You don't run any equip spells. It sucks, right? So, this is like a clunky card, but if you have the Power Tool Dragon, that card fetches out the equip card straight from the deck and equips it to the monsters. So, together, this is the card advantage card. That's kind of the beater. Doesn't have much stats, but it's the beater. Let's just go with that. Or the facilitator of the equip cards, I guess. And this is the card advantage card. It's not going to work, but this begs the question, could bamboo cards come back? Could those equip spells come back? This is a card advantage engine with it. Maybe. Unlikely, though. And next card is Old Entity Haster. Level 4 Synchro Monster. Let's see, click something off here. Level 4 Reptile Synchro. Generic requirements, 2300 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Equip this card from your graveyard to that monster. That monster cannot attack, also its effects are negated. If this card leaves the field while equipped to an opponent's monster by its effect, take control of that monster. This card was equipped too. This card's notable for a few reasons. It's a level 4 synchro. There's like 3 of them in the game. And I remember when I was playing Aliens, there's a play where you play Ammonite into the dog, and that's a level 4 synchro right there. And the card I was playing was Underworld Fighter Balmung, which is just like a 2100. And his ability only triggers when he gets effect destroyed. So, you're synchro summoning for a 2100. Who cares, right? This is a level 4 2300. That's really solid for a level 4 synchro play. And then, this card's sent from the monster zone to the graveyard. So that's anything. Destroy, effect destroy, anything but banish. You could steal your opponent's monster. And then that monster, they don't get stolen. They get stuck there. They have nothing to do. And then you could steal it when it gets removed. So this is a decent card to have. I like to have this card just for being a level 4 synchro. Fortune Ladies could operate on low levels, so it's possible they can make a level 4. They could just use Past and Light, and then or Past and just Wind. That's 1+3 right there. So maybe there's a fit if Fortune Ladies want to do the synchro summon a level 4, but it's unlikely because they do like to ramp into higher levels with their with Carly's dual skill. All right, one more card. Storm Dragon's Return. This is a trap card. Target one banished monster, special summon to your field, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can use this effect once per turn. This is a card that will work with any of those banished archetypes. Thunder Dragons, Metaphyz, Shiranui seem to work with all of them. Of course, it's called Storm Dragon's Return, so it's probably the best fit for the Thunder Dragons. But you never know with the other decks how they could utilize a card like this. That's very generic, but generally useful for any of those banish synergy archetypes. That is it for this mini box for now. If there's time next week, I'll talk about the rest of the cards. There are some interesting things with Miracle Synchro Fusion, where you get to turn a Synchro monster into a fusion play. Some Worm cards. The rest of the Melodious monsters as well. Some ninjas. Yellow Ninja is pretty good. White Dragon Ninja. If there's time, I'll talk about those cards. So the next topic of conversation is Memories of a Friend. This is the main event that's going on right now. The DSOD event. We get to get Joey. Let's talk about the cards first that we get from a farm. So first you get to play against Yugi. It's like Kaiba's quest for revenge, whatever. He gets to do whatever. DD Seeker level 3. Dark Psychic 1500 800 quick effect. You can target one face-up monster you control, banish it until the end phase of the next turn. You can use this effect once per turn. Right now, this is like World Legacy Clash without the enemy debuff, so there's no real point in using it other than to save a monster you have or to activate an effect. One example of a card is Fortune Lady Light. When it gets removed from the field, you can special summon a card. That works okay, but Fortune Lady Pass does a better job of it. You permanently remove the card, but you modulate the levels, you get water out, and then you make a play. The upside of this card isn't here yet, and I don't even know if this card will be useful at all, because, World Legacy Clash negates an attack. Sort of when they get the monster banished, they don't get to have that extra attack anymore. I don't think DD Seeker does that. It'll just let this card get hit instead. So, you lose that body on the board. You might make yourself susceptible to losing the duel, because they don't negate the attack, I don't think. So this card might have some upside, but then it might not be played at all. And here's another card. Disposable Learner Device. Equip Spell. The equipped monster gains 200 attack for each monster in your graveyard. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard is sent there from the field this turn, you can set this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay. This is an equip card that just buffs attack. And it's conditional on how many monsters you have on your graveyard. So the upside is just attack. And then it could be used twice. If it's destroyed, you could set it back so you could use it twice. So this card's kind of useless. It's an equip spell that could be used twice, and it only buffs attack. Anything from 200 and above. It could be 0. And then, that's it. The only This card's pretty bad. You could consider grass. You could, like, Crystrons have a lot of monsters and they just grass. I mean, they don't even use grass. They just have a lot of monsters and then they just destroy their own cards. So you could get a big buff with Crystrons, sure. Quintet Magician, sure. But as it's just an attack buff that's situational, this isn't very good at all. There's no point in running a card like this unless there's like specific archetype synergy, like the Noble Knights. They like to use the Galantine for 1,000, and they pop stuff, so it's pretty good for card for like specific synergy. Power of the Guardians is the only good equip spell, I think, but this card is just not there. We get Joey, right? I want to say something about Joey. He's like the meme character right now. You can make him do the Joey face if you emote during a game. He talks about Axe Raider being an ultra rare card because it was like the first UR from the first box or something. But and then he looks really derpy. I think like, they remodeled the characters. His face is more filled in. People say he looks like Atticus. I guess that makes sense. But he makes like a derp face on his If you use the game mat with Joey on it, just like it's really derpy. That's all I could say about him. But what is cool is the cards he gives. He has some pretty good cards. Let's talk about those cards. So let's talk about the farmable cards first. There's farmable cards, there's his level up cards, and then there's his dual skills. So there's a lot to cover here. Dice It is an event card. Trap card. Roll a 6-sided die, apply this effect depending on whose turn it is during your turn, banish cards from your graveyard equal to the result. Then if the result was 1, send 6 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. If it was done during your opponent's turn, send cards from your deck to the graveyard equal to the result. If it was 6, banish 1 card from your graveyard. So, I feel like I'm playing Hearthstone with this card, but let's explain it. It's a little RNG. There's always going to be banish and graveyard interactions, potential meta implications. So let's say you activate this, there's 4 outcomes. There's generally 4 outcomes. During your turn, 83% chance to banish 2 to 6 cards from your graveyard. That's it. And if you do an expected value, that's like on average, you could banish 4 cards. There's a 17% chance you banish 1 card from your graveyard, but you mill 6 cards from the deck to the graveyard. Now, if you do it during your opponent's turn, there's an 83% chance you mill 1 to 5 cards from your deck. And this comes out to an expected value of 3. Or, there's a 17% chance you mill 6 cards from your deck, banish 1 from the graveyard. So one archetype this seems to work pretty well with is Shiranui. And because they like to do both. They like to put stuff in from the deck to the graveyard. They like to banish stuff from their graveyard to the banish zone. This leads me to an important question. Is that Grass Looks Greener going to get limited? I think so. I think this is the card, assuming everyone gets enough copies, of course. This is random. You could buy one from the trader, sure, but this is a card you'll need 3 of if Grass Looks Greener gets nerfed. We were talking about Grass Shiranui. You know, there's like so much you could do with that deck. And with Spell Specialist, it's pretty OP. They're probably going to have a really good chance of getting Grass Looks Greener. So if you put this card in, let's say they nerf Grass Looks Greener. I'm not sure if they even touch Spell Specialist after that because this is a trap card. This is a little slower, and it's random. You're subjecting yourself to RNG. You're not milling 10 cards from your deck. So, yeah, I think this is a signal that Grass Looks Greener is going to get nerfed. And, of course, that card is a trader card. So that means they don't feel bad that you had to dig through an SR box. I mean, a mini box to get like 3 of them. So, I think the signs point to that. That's why this card's important. There's some other cards you get from Joey here. 1,000 Dragon, we only had 1 or 2. Flame Swordsman, we only had 1. Alligator Sword Dragon, this card was always limited at 1 for some reason. It can attack directly when the only monsters your opponent has are Earth, Water, and Fire. It's 1700 direct attacker, sure. I don't know why it was ever limited, frankly. Alright. Let's talk about Joey's level up cards and his skills. First card you get 3 copies of, and it's pretty bad. Let's see. I'm going to skip over some of them because Mystical Sheep is a card we already have, I think. And the ability of Mystical Sheep is already present in other cards. Big Win. Trap card. Declare a level between 1 and 12. Each player tosses a coin. If they are both heads, the levels of all face-up monsters you control become the declared level. If both are tails, you lose life points equal to the declared level times 500. So what's the implication here? There could be XZ's implications. You declare some big-ass level. They become that level. You have a big XZ's play. The downside is this card has a 50% chance of doing nothing at all. Anytime you or your opponent have the wrong coin flip, it will be nothing at all. Trap card for nothing. There's a 25% chance you modulate those levels. 25% chance you lose life points. Just because it does nothing 50% of the time is what makes the card bad. Here's a card that's not bad. Banisher of Light. Level 3 Light Fairy, 100 attack, 2000 defense. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This is one of those cards that was always around in TCG. It was one of the earlier cards from a time I remember, and it's a really strong ability. Very useful card against any deck with graveyard effects. They just go straight to the banish zone. At the same time, this is a 2000 defender, and that's really easy to get over in dueling, so that's why it's here. It's easy to get over, to deal with this card. I think the best way to use this card is to special summon it and surprise your opponent when they're doing something, and then they dump their stuff into the graveyard. Special summon it with the Shining Angel or something, or Sangan. Or Sangan doesn't special summon, but Shining Angel does. Or even Valhalla, you could ramp out a fairy or something. I think this card has to be played in attack mode, though, which exposes it to the 100 attack side. Hopefully you have enough back row, there's Fiendish Chains now and things like that to prevent your opponent from hitting over this card. But this card just shuts down decks that rely on those graveyard effects. This card also could mean Sealed Tombs gets nerfed. Sealed Tombs is a skill that you're seeing in every Dark Magician deck. The way they're going to hit Dark Magician is to nerf Sealed Tombs, right? So they're giving us 2 copies of this card, so it's not 3. I think this card and then the Dice It they're clues that something is going to get hit with a nerf. But for now, Banisher of the Light, I think you're going to see it as a side deck card in tournaments. Possibly even some main deck play in the Kaiba Cup. I don't know. Here's another card that's interesting. 1 copy of this card. Invader of the Throne. Earth Warrior flip effect, 1350-17 flip effect. Select 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field. Switch control of it with this card. This effect cannot be activated during the battle phase. So, obviously this type of card can get out of hand when you have too many of them. So you only get 1. It's a flip effect, so it doesn't work during the battle phase. That's important. So it can't take control of your opponent's monster when they attack it. This is only used during your turn. Or, let's say you use a Sub-Terror card and they flip it over or something. Or even Desert Sunlight. Desert Sunlight could work great with this. You could flip it up and steal their opponent's card. I think this is the best. This works with Sub-Terrors because it's a warrior too. And it could be another Golem Sentry. They could run 3 of these, and then this one has more upside. Instead of bouncing it, you could steal their monster. Potentially. I think this could have a fit there. Otherwise, you're just a flip deck, I guess. Maybe it works there. I think you're just Pulse Mine, so I don't know. I don't know where this card fits, but it's a really strong ability. Unfortunately, we only have 1 copy. Speaking of cards with 1 copy, we have his last reward card is Sasuke Samurai number 4. Level 4 Wind Warrior, 1200. If this card battles a monster, toss a coin and call heads or tails before damage. If you call it right, destroy the opponent's monster with this effect. So, This could be decent in a Sartorius deck with Master of Destiny because his first 3 coin flips are guaranteed. And this is a decent card. You have to have like 6 or 7 cards with coin flips. And sometimes they're not that good. Some of them are pretty good, like Misjudge, for example. This one's also pretty good. And then there's like a 50% chance, even without Sartorius' help, that you could have an effect destruction on an opponent. So that's pretty good against, like a face-down monster. You just want to destroy it without activating its ability. 50%. And I think this card's not good enough to be like a generally good warrior card. I saw Aaron the Lightsworn Monk as a generally good warrior card. Amazon of Swordswoman fits as a generally good warrior card. This might not be there yet, but it's a wind warrior if you ever need that. And, this 50% effect destruction fits just great with Sartorius. So those are Joey's level up cards. Let's talk about his duel skills. He has 6 unique duel skills, which is quite a bit. And it goes without saying that Joey will raise up to 35 along with all the other characters, so he might get another card soon. Red Eye's Fusion is a skill. It can be used when you have 2,400 or less life points. Return a Red Eyes card from your hand to your deck, then add a Red Eyes Fusion from your deck to your hand. If your life points are exactly 2,400, you can return Red Eyes Black Dragon from your graveyard to your deck instead. So this is useful. It's a useful skill that's not broken. Red Eyes Slash is far from being the best deck, and this is a good skill for Red Eyes Slash. 2,400 attack life points is an awkward one. You have to lose 1,600, which is, it's not 1,500, it's not 1,000, so it's a little awkward. Even if you use Herald of the Abyss, you're going to be at 2,500, and that misses the mark. So that's why this skill is not OP. Mirror Wall works, I guess. Counter Trap makes you lose 2,000. That one works too. So those are skills that could help activate Red Eyes Fusion. Next one is called Time Roulette Go. When you call the coin toss correctly, the effect of Time Wizard changes monsters you control whose original names are the following to the other monsters. Dark Magician becomes Dark Sage. Baby Dragon becomes Thousand Dragon. This could only be used once per duel. This is a straight-up anime skill. You have to run a Time Wizard with a Baby Dragon and a Dark Magician. I don't even remember how that happened in the anime, but it did. And I think there was a tag duel or something with the Paradox Brothers. And they had them in the same board. That's the only way it makes sense. So, yeah, this has no implication on ranked play at all. Maybe not even casual play. Like I don't see this being useful there. It's just for a role player to recreate a scene from the anime. Next skill is called Friends and Foes. Can be used when you control monsters whose original name is the following: Red Eyes Black Dragon, Jinzo, or Legendary Fisherman. Increase the attack of these monsters by 300 times the number of them you control. This can be used once per turn and twice per duel. This is like a situational beatdown. You have to have these monsters, of course. They're monsters he had in the anime, he took from other people. He took Jinzo from Esperova. He took Legendary Fisherman from Mako. I guess it's like a Battle City arc, which cards he got from Battle City. He took Red Eyes from Rex, so I guess these are all cards he took. Joey stole these cards from people. Red Eyes is the most useful one. You could have multiple Red Eyes. You could bring them out with Return of Red Eyes, and then you do a beatdown. They're like, if you have 2 of them, they're both 3,000. If you have 3 Red Eyes, 900 attack to each, 3,300. Really good. Jinzo could work. There's only 2 copies of Jinzo, but Jinzo negates traps, so you can make Jinzo. If there's 2 Jinzos on the board, it's 3,000 each. It's pretty good. Next skill. This is a decent skill here. My warrior buddies. Level 4 Earth Warrior monsters control gain 200 attack. So this is interesting because it's a passive buff skill. Something we don't have. Most of the skills are we put a field on the spell. Everyone gets affected by a field spell. Your opponent's cards, my cards. And then the field spell could get destroyed by Cosmic Cyclone. So this is a passive buff. All of your level 4 Earth Warriors get 200 attack permanently Really solid. Unfortunately, nothing's meta with level 4 Earth Warriors. The closest thing is Amazonas. Except for the Princess, I think that's a level 3. The Sage might be a level 3. But most of them are level 4 Earth Warriors. And, it's decent. It's just a passive buff skill. It probably won't be used because nothing is meta right now, but there could be something down the line. Fusion Morph Red Eyes. Discard one of the following monsters from your hand, then change one monster you control whose original name is Red Eyes Black Dragon into the following. So if you discard a level 6 Fiend, you could get you turn Red Eyes into Black Skull Dragon. If you discard level 6 Dragon, you could turn Red Eyes into Meteor Black Dragon. If you discard a level 4 Earth Warrior normal monster, you can turn your card into Red Eyes Slash. Interesting skill. Useful for Red Eyes Slash. You have to discard a level 4 Earth Warrior. In that, in the structured deck with Red Eyes Slash, they gave us it's like some kind of World Legacy guy. He has like 1800 attack. He's perfect for this. Level 4 Earth Warrior with no abilities. This could be useful for Red Eyes Slash in times you brick. So I like Red Eyes Fusion more than Fusion Morph Red Eyes. And you're probably not going to make Black Skull Dragon or Black Meteor Dragon with this skill. I like the other one more, Red Eyes Fusion more. Finally, the last duel skill is called Road to the Pro League. Your duel assessment score from tribute summoning monsters will be multiplied by 1.5. I like it when they give a shout out to the podcast, so that's the only good thing about this skill. You boost your duel assessment, sure, but it has no implications to dueling at all. None whatsoever. That's Joey. Whenever Joey comes around, he has some useful cards. That's definitely the case. Level him up to get those Banishers. Banisher of the Lights. Sasuke's good. Invader of the Throne's good. Big Wind's no good. And his skills are mostly for Red Eyes Slash and some warrior cards. Okay. Talk about the Vagabond for a quick second. The Vagabond has been nerfed big time. His cheat rules are over. No more cheating from the Vagabond. It's a big step. Often I had friends that sent me like impossible ones, like one card stipulations. There's no way you can win with that against the decks the Vagabond had. So all over, and his rating is based off of what deck he uses and what rank the duelist is. So let's say you face a King of Games deck, you face a Legend deck, you face a Plat deck. That depends on how much experience you get. Typically, I have a Legend one. I face against Legend decks, and I win against them. So as long as you have a solid deck, I'm even using this Red Eyes Slash deck here to level up Joey. It's good enough to win, and overall, this is a good thing for Duel Links. The Vagabond does not beat you like more than half of the time because of some stupid stipulation. Previously, I always sent my friends 3 monsters on the board condition. That's a level 2 one. That'll get you some experience, but it's not impossible to lose. Now that's all over. And it's an additional step skipped in the interface, so you just send it to a friend, no condition. Makes the game a lot simpler. Doug Dimmaduel is here with his casual deck of the week. This week he has Mecha Phantom Surprise. If you remember Mecha Phantom Beasts, they were like those, they were like airplanes or helicopters or, things that were shaped like animals. They had tokens. They came from different boxes. This one's definitely a surprise, though. A lot of cool, interesting synchro plays. So check out Doug Dimmaduel's Mecha Phantom Surprise deck right here.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmaduel with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. This week we're going to be looking at a Mecha Phantom Beast deck that revolves around really one of the best kept secrets in the game, Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impala. So really the whole name of this deck is to kind of draw your opponent off guard, because they're going to be sitting there looking at your deck going, oh, they're just playing some kind of Mecha Phantom deck, that's kind of outdated. But really you're going to just blow them away when you start getting into your Crystron, I forgot how to even say this thing, Quadriongandrix. I'm guessing the level 9 Synchro that requires 2 or more tuners and 1 non-tuner. Whenever it's Synchro summon, you target monsters your opponent controls and or in the graveyard up to the number of materials used for the Synchro summon, and then banish them. So if the Synchro summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, then you can target one of those banished monsters and special summon it to your field. It's got 3,000 attack too, so it just kind of clears the board, allows you to do some OTKs using Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, which is a level 2 tuner, 600 attack. It's a UR from one of the main boxes. You can banish this card from your graveyard immediately after this effect resolves. Normal summon 1 Mecha Phantom Beast monster from your hand. While you control a token, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, just like all the other Mecha Phantom Beast cards. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Mecha Phantom Beast token, and you can only use each effect once per turn. So, effectively, how this is so valuable is if you're able to banish this card from the graveyard and normal summon a Mecha Phantom Beast Hamstrat, which is a really old UR that's been around in the game for a long time. But its secondary effect, which has hardly been used, is you tribute 1 token, then target 1 Mecha Phantom Beast monster in your graveyard, and then special summon that target. So really what you could do is use it to recycle your Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impala, which is really the driver of this deck. It's a level 3 tuner. It cannot be used as Synchro material, except for the Synchro summon of a machine-type monster. The other material has to be Mecha Phantom Beast monsters in your hand or on your side of the field. Also, if your opponent controls monsters and you don't, you can banish this card from the graveyard and special summon 1 Mecha Phantom Beast token. So what's the exciting play I'm talking about here? Well, as long as you just normal summon your Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impala on the field, and you have a Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion and any level 4 Mecha Phantom Beast monster, you could either go with Mecha Phantom Beast Tetherwolf, or Mecha Phantom Beast Mega Raptor, or maybe Mecha Phantom Beast Black Falcon. The reason I like this is because it's searchable by Sangan, because it's got less than 1,500 attack, but you could figure out which works best in your deck. But really what you need in your hand is a Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impala, your level 3 tuner, your level 2 Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion tuner. So there's your 2 tuners for the requirement for your Crystron, and then a level 4. That adds up to a level 9 Synchro monster without having to special summon 3 different monsters on the field. All you need to do is normal summon that 1 Blue Impala on the field, and you go from there. So it's a really, really phenomenal way to do it. And also, if you have 2 Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impalas in your hand, you could use either a token, because all the Mecha Phantom Beast tokens are level 3, or Mecha Phantom Beast Hamstrat from your hand too. So there's more than one way to get your Crystron on the field, but that's really your game winner right there. So between that, the reason why this play is so important is because once you use your O-Lion as one of your materials, it's sent to the graveyard. So then automatically you get that token on the field if you want. It's optional, but then from there you're able to banish it from the graveyard. And if you have 1 more Mecha Phantom Beast in your hand, you can normal summon it. So typically what that does, the Crystron Quadriongandrix is able to clear the board for your opponent. Usually, you'll just swing for 3,000 and maybe your opponent survives another turn. But no, because of O-Lion's banish effect and normal summoning 1 more Mecha Phantom Beast monster onto the field, you're going to go over the 4,000, even sometimes 5,000 if your opponent's playing Life Point Boost Alpha, depending on what your setup is. But, I mean, I'm telling you, this is probably one of the, it's a surprise deck, essentially what it is. So really the core to this deck is your 3 Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impalas, again, that level 3 tuner. Have as many Beast O-Lions as you can. Ideally, I'd like to have 3, but in the deck that I run, I only have 2 copies. I may use my UR Dream Ticket on it, because I really, really enjoy playing this deck, and I'd like to see it at full strength. And then whatever level 4 Mecha Phantom Beast monsters you have, feel free to make it work. And I mean, I'm not really trying to give you too much of an exact recipe for the deck, because it really depends on the flow of how you think you want this deck to run. And just for good measure, I like to run Draw, Send, Spell, and Trap, and just run 2 copies of Rising Air Current, because what this does is it increases the attack of all wind monsters by 500 points and decreases the defense by 400. So even if you just have your Mecha Phantom Beast Tetherwolf on the field, it's sitting on the field as a 2200, and if you use its effect to pop a token while you're attacking another monster, you're talking about a 3000 attack monster just swinging in for an attack, so it's pretty good. But really the one other driver of this deck is if you're missing some pieces to get into your level 9 Synchro play, Sangan is your go-to. Not because you're able to really use it with your Mecha Phantom Beast Blue Impala, because it requires Mecha Phantom Beast monsters, but it allows you to search out your Blue Impala, it allows you to search out your O-Lion, it allows you to search out Hamstret if you need it, and it'll also allow you to search out Mecha Phantom Beast Black Falcon, which is a level 4, which has an attack below 1500, so it would work with the Sangan effect. So that's why I really recommend just kind of playing around, experimenting with the different combos with this deck, but honestly, I've caught a lot of people off guard in King of Games ranked duels. They're not quite expecting it. They think they know what they're getting, and then all of a sudden, boom, I go into just a 1-card normal summon, Synchro play, using cards in the hand to get into Quadriongandrix, and it's just phenomenal. So anyway, I recommend giving this deck a shot. It may not be the most competitive, but it's sneaky good. So it's expensive too, so I forgot to mention that caveat. But other than that, if you're interested in Mecha Phantom Beasts and their full potential as a Synchro deck, I think we're getting close. So anyway, that's it for my casual deck of the week. I will see you next time. Take care.
All right, thanks, Doug. You can check out his podcast. You can check out Doug's decks here every week on this podcast with his casual deck of the week. And check out his Twitter account, Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk. Finishing up this week, upcoming news. KC Cup will happen in a few days, February 6th. Good check on the meta right now. If you're sick of this meta, still make sure you play the KC Cup, because there's a lot of gems on the line. The grind for gems never ends. You definitely don't want to miss it because you hate the meta. Duel Quest will come early February, so that's soon. Mid-February, Duelist Chronicles GX. Duelist Chronicles GX Society of Light. Mission Circuit, new card called Double Ripple. Dark Signer Carly Carmine gets retired. Late February, Obtain Blair Flanagan. Late February, Scheming Weevil, new cards Shiny Black Sea Squatter, Token Collector. And late February, DSOD characters level up increase to 35. That's it for this podcast this week. Thank you very much for listening. Leave reviews, subscribe on your favorite listener. Check out the podcast and more. All these notes are on the duelassessment.wordpress.com. Email me with any business inquiries to duelassessment@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter, duel_assessment. Me at Green Ranger CCG. And that is it. So, thank you very much. I will hear from you next time.